Hello and welcome back to Nerds of Legend. I'm Ben. Next to me is Joel and Missy. Below me is Brendan. And today we're here to talk about the book Rivers of London, also known as Midnight Riot, by Ben Aaronovitch. And I don't have any announcements for today, but I believe other than next week we will be doing...
Go ahead, continue.
Next week we'll be doing talking about sort of some Christmas traditions. We'll probably talk about personal traditions for Christmas, as well as maybe some like various random cultural traditions Christmas traditions that we know that are just either absurd, different, weird, whatever. That's what we're going to talk about. So if you're interested in that, definitely hit us up with ones that we should look into. Because that'd be fun.
Oh, yes. Especially weird stuff your family does.
Yeah, even weird stuff your family does. Because everybody does weird stuff during the holidays for some reason. And that's it. And then also tomorrow, as always, we'll be continuing our adventures of Candlekeep. And then I believe Brendan will let us know his book choice at the end of the show.
Absolutely. I would like to apologize for the upload timing of the last couple episodes. I have been under the weather. I got COVID, was really excited about it, and have not been feeling up to editing or uploading. So we are behind a little bit. So bear with us, and I thank you for those that have been patient. I've seen the ones that have gotten uploaded. You guys have watched right away. So again, apologies. This one will be uploaded on time, Friday at 7 p.m., because I am feeling much better.
That's good. That's all I've got for now. So without further ado, and I just realized I say that like every episode.
Every time.
Brendan, how about you kick us off with a little plot synopsis, which we will probably also interrupt you at random with dumb anecdotes.
Hey, give the people what they want. All right, so we are in London in modern day, and Police Constable Peter Grant, along with his massive crush Leslie May, are approaching essentially the end of their probationary period as new cops on the beat in downtown London. Now, Peter Grant has always been rather intellectual. He's always had a quizzical mind. But he's never really fit in, and he wasn't really in the scientific community. He never really knew what to do with himself, and he's essentially afraid of a future of processing paperwork in the police department.
Well, it kind of sounded like he started out doing like kind of sounded like he just like bailed out of like college. He was like was going down sort of like a scientific like chemist or like physicist path, and then like
didn't really
changed his mind and decided he wanted to be a copper instead.
Yeah, and so he actually sort of dreams of being a detective, and his boss is basically ready to shoot that down when a chance he really is. He's like, you have a mind for paperwork, basically, and he has a chance meeting with a dashing, good-looking dude named Thomas Nightingale.
You skipped the part.
Okay.
You saw a ghost.
So where?
Yes. All right. Well, I was gonna wrap it into the magical part, but yes. And yes, he initially sees a spirit, but isn't sure if he's crazy. Isn't sure. Like he tells Leslie, and she's like, "All right, whatever." He has a chance meeting with Thomas Nightingale. The first time he meets him, he thinks that he's possibly a top gay looking for his bottom because he's in an area where
What?
Where young, good-looking gay men meet. Immediately looks him over. Is like, this guy is so good-looking. He's got a perfect-fitting suit and a silver cane. He basically looks like Gary Oldman in Dracula when he's got the blue shades on, trying to court our female lead in that movie. He's fully pimped out. He immediately assumes that he's a gay guy, which
I mean, like none of us are gay, and
I was gonna say being well dressed deals are not mutually exclusive, but he makes a gut decision as a policeman, and that meeting with Nightingale, he asks him a simple question. He says, "What are you looking for?" And he honestly says, in an exasperated manner, "A ghost." He doesn't know that Thomas Nightingale knows magic and knows entirely all about spirits, and he ends up being selected not for paperwork, but he spirals down a path, discovering and uncovering magic-related murders, happenstance, shenanigans related to river spirits, and opens up his eyes to the world of urban magic. And
at the same time, shafting Leslie into doing the paperwork.
Yeah, he shafts Leslie into doing paperwork.
Yeah, she gets like, "Oh, you were gonna be a detective?" No,
yeah, she
no.
thought she was gonna be like the murder detective, and then she's like, gets her assignment. She's like, "Oh no, I'm the paper pusher."
As soon as he got pulled into doing magical detective work,
they're very much
no.
the magical versions of Elaine and George Costanza.
Yeah.
Where when George is doing well, Elaine is suffering. When Elaine's doing well, George is suffering.
Are you serious? Anything.
Never too late to squeeze in a Seinfeld reference. So
did it just cut out because Siri decided she had very poignant things to add.
Yeah.
About magical paperwork.
Oh, did not hear that part. That wasn't coming through.
So this is part of a pretty prolific series of Peter Grant novels. My initial reaction as I read this is and Ben agrees with me, I believe. We were chatting a little bit before the show. It very much reads like a magical police procedural.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
You get sort of all sorts of a glut of cases. Yeah. It's almost like serial episodic NYPD Blue kind of.
Yeah.
I
will say I tore through this book. Like
I
fast finished it in one day. Yeah.
The only reason I slowed down was I had to look up certain words.
I got caught on a lot of the language too. Of course,
British vernacular, but other than that, yeah.
Really impressed with a lot of other. Like one was dressed to oblivion. I was like, that might be my new favorite way of saying bundled up for women. Like.
That's
actually pretty solid.
Yeah, I had to look up what cottaging meant as a verb. So I learned what cottaging was. I knew Tesco was basically like a Kmart, so yeah. Tesco's are all over Britain. I was in a British play, and I learned what Lucozade was, and they have a different name for acetaminophen, and all these little things. But other than that, it's a very, very fast read.
Yeah.
It was almost a counterpoint to Iron Druid.
Yeah.
In the way that it was very conversational, but people weren't necessarily wordy for the sake of being wordy, and there wasn't necessarily a need for quips or verbal,
Yeah, there wasn't like a bunch of like verbal sparring and like, oh, well, like, and I think there's like, it's commented on because I think Peter gets like stuck into random parts where he like almost like agrees to like deals. It's almost like a guy that's like gets accidentally commits to like basically it's a sort of like similar universe where you have like these things where like agreements and like your word and deals are like very important, and like so like on one end of the spectrum, like last time we had Atticus, who's like 2,000-year-old druid that is very, very precise with how he says things and what he agrees to, versus like Peter, who has no idea what's going on and just like,
oh yeah, very much so.
Yeah, and then it bites him in the ass a couple times, which is interesting.
On the first case that Nightingale's investigating with Peter, he makes he makes an observation about the gentleman's house. I think it was Brandon, the script writer or the TV producer, says that he's living a life of quiet desperation, and he quotes Thoreau, and Peter notes himself. He's like, I don't know, like he's obviously quoting someone. I don't know who it is, and I'm not going to give him the satisfaction of asking who said that. So it's told from a first person perspective. He's very observational. Peter's an intelligent guy, but it never felt.
But he's not like a well-read, intelligent guy. Like he's just
that's just so great. The mise en scène, right? The world of the story. Yeah. It's very authentically told from Peter's perspective.
Yeah,
being informed is different than being naturally intelligent. And Peter Grant may not read Thoreau, but he's a smart guy, and it's told in such an organic first-person perspective. It's really easy for first-person novels to be really thick and really lay it on with almost too much description and inference, and this felt very organic. It was a super fast read. I was a very, very big fan of the way not only conversations are developed, but the way that Peter sees the world. Mm-hmm. So, like you said, it didn't take. I mean, I knocked it out in a day. So,
all right. I think
I just love.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think me and Brennan have given our impressions. What did Joel, you and you two think?
Well, so I love. In some ways, it reminded me, and I hated this damn book. I hated it. I should say this one was fine. I hated Neverwhere. I hate it.
Very, very close parallels, yeah.
And it reminded me of it.
Except Neverwhere's awesome, and you're incorrect.
Thank you, Joel. Wow, Joel and Brendan agree on something. Look at that. Damn.
It reminded me a lot of it, like in some ways. It was very episodic. It was very easy to follow. It helped you, like, it made me feel nostalgic and want to be in London, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and that's what I really enjoyed.
So does grilled cheese make you want to go back to London?
Any bland food, you're like,
bland food, you're like, this makes me think of London.
Chilied eel, maybe.
It was fun, and it was very quintessentially British, like where it was like very like fun, but a little bit off the wall. Like, and at the end, you're like, "What the fuck? It's fucking puppets!" Like, yeah, it made it. I hated and loved it at the same time because it was so ridiculous that it made me laugh. But I was like, "Come on, man!"
Yeah, because you realize, when the moment when you realize that the murderer is like a failed actor who is murdered and is literally recreating Punch and Judy. It's just like,
it's just so
what? Like it's just like peak. It's just like peak. Like just like passive aggressive. Like
there were a lot of digs made at the expense of American law enforcement. Like, oh, this place looks like an American CSI lab. Like, oh, they're trying to make it all squeaky. Mm-hmm. It very much owns that it's British, right? They observe a triple homicide. Or where the perp's face is coming off as he falls down the stairs and kills himself. They're covered in blood from these people, and it's like, shit, get them some tea. They get him in the van. They like tea, 3 sugars, tea, 3 sugars. We gotta calm down. It makes no excuses for being British. It loves every step of the way that it is. It's definitely a strength of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was so weird though. Like, it felt to me. What was funny is, okay, so I really liked the Kevin Hearn series. So I've been going through the whole thing. So it was a hard stop. When I stopped, it took me about a day and a half to finish this book. It was like a hard stop and a complete change from a very American way of telling the story of like it experiences to this guy felt like he stumbled his way through the case, and he was like, "Holy shit, there's other stuff here." Like,
but not in very realistic.
No, very realistic. Yeah. It was so. It felt like he was a cop, then found out magic existed, and then everybody else also knew magic existed.
So that was a weird thing. Like Leslie doesn't think he's a fucking nut job.
He's like, I was talking to a ghost. So they're like, quite right. That's what you're doing.
Obviously.
What? So he knows.
Like London, like all of these old ass cities have, like, if there are ghosts, like they're fucking in London.
I'm sorry, but like if you sit there, and I feel to this day right now, if I go to London and give a witness statement and be like, a ghost told me,
I think
they're going to be like, shut the fuck up, crazy person. They're not going to be like,
yeah. We talked about it. It's like you were talking.
Or the witnesses, like,
like we were talking about it. It's like earlier. Joel was like, "It's like Ben, if you came to me and it was like, Joel, I just saw aliens yesterday," and you're like illegals or like aliens, and I'd be like, real ones, obviously, and you're like, okay, and then you're like, and the next day you're like, I just saw a ghost, and you're like, Ben, are you doing okay?
Yeah, right. Like,
but for some reason, all like the entirety of Scotland Yard is like in on this whole like ghost like magic thing, and they hate it, but like they're like, yeah, magic's a thing. We just send the case to this guy.
Nightingale's a wizard, and you're like, yeah, of course he's a wizard. We all know he's a wizard.
Well, and he's like he's indeterminate age, but he's at least around for the war, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so you have this master kind of mage, wizard, whatever, and he's learning magic, and he's doing it in a way that is very logical to me because he's trying to understand it.
Yeah.
And he's asking these questions, and Nightingale's like, you're not supposed to be asking these yet. Like, it's been a while. Like, let me relearn how to do some of this stuff. And so, in that, like, it again felt realistic in that he, like, okay, magic is real. I'm going to be a mage, or I'm going to be a wizard now. Let me spend all this time. And it blows out technology, and it just felt, the way that he built this world felt authentic to.
It did.
Yeah.
Like he found it.
World.
Like he figured it out while writing the story. He's in a diner and there's ghosts fighting, you know, like
building on Missy, what I felt, the authenticity I felt in this book came from the anxieties of life, right?
Yes.
Ben, you've got a son, you've got a wife, she's got a job, you have a job. You have to pick up Max from stuff. It's like he wants a promotion. He doesn't want to get pigeonholed into a crappy job. He's got his crush. He's got to work with Nightingale now. He's like, oh, magic's real.
He's fucking horny.
Yes, he's so horny.
Like,
where Leslie,
oh my God,
failed to invite me into her bed.
Where I was so like,
Yeah.
I think that's maybe why I didn't like the other one. That sounds really familiar. Like this one, I was like, is this really what men think like? They're like, oh, wait,
No, I've never
like,
been articulate when I failed to score.
Like, it was every fucking thing. He's like, trying not to look at her boobs, like trying not to do this. And I'm like, are you like, is it really that like overly sexualized every moment? Like,
So
how good are the boobs? Like,
the way
depends how much they're being flaunted. Like, let's be real.
the way I describe the male sexual drive is like, it's essentially vampirism. So it's like if everyone has parkas on and you're busy, you're like, okay, well, I'm busy working on a car, or I have to mail these packages, and everyone's wearing a parka. But if someone's going like this and then holding their neck to you, and then they're like, you like blood, don't you? And you're like, I'm gonna look away. I need to watch TV, baseball. Let's think about baseball. You know, it's essentially the entire thing is just the wall of Jericho around my sexuality. It's baseball. Yeah, no, but
you're just constantly turned on. That's why you.
I mean, the books, man. The books are so sexy. What do we do? You know, what can we do?
I do love the way he went about it, like where he wrote, and Leslie once again completely failed to invite me into bed with her.
Yeah,
that's like so weird. Yeah, but then like the one time she like joins him in the room, he like naked basically, like or in her underwear, and then he just like doesn't make a move. Like
I got a boner
for some reason.
I
like
love
that's a signal.
I love the authenticity though. Like
I got an erection.
Right. Yeah, then it moves. Well, I mean, there are a bunch of cops that live in shared housing. They wear like steel-toe boots all day, and their fridge is gross. He's had no time to build game. You know, he's wearing like light reflective rain slicks so that cars don't hit him. He doesn't know how to dress well.
Right now, like that's
I
his point of his day.
I loved Peter Grant as a protagonist. I thought he was a great protagonist. He was so human. He had so many faults. He had to go through so much crap. And
the thing that is annoying is a lot of the times when you get the story, there's the guy who just gets it, or like he's like the best of the best. And this one they dig at him like, oh, you failed your A levels. The time where he's trying to do the wear light and all he's doing is just pissing himself off.
Right.
And it's just he takes a very natural like learning
because it's like there's also like a time scale to the like the case is solved. It's not like some overnight like 3 weeks thing. It's like it's solved over the course of like almost a year. it took like almost a year to solve this case, like the serial killer thing. It's like oh yeah, I've been like practicing trying to like move shit with my mind for 3 months, and then finally we got another break in the case.
Yeah, it definitely was not, like the super character who just comes in and is like, not only am I a wizard, I was born to be a wizard. Like, it's like, this shit sucks. I don't.
You were
understand
foretold to be good at magic. You're the seventh son of the seventh son.
Right. Like, he just wakes up and rocks it. Like, he's just kind of like, why did you pick me? I'm horrible.
Not the most powerful High Lord.
No, he is not. He's like, you showed up and we're like, want to learn magic? Okay, good. You passed the test.
You passed the first test.
Right. Wanting to learn. Second, will you redecorate my outhouse and get me Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
It's not Snow White magic where it just cleans everything. And
that was one of the funniest scenes.
Right?
Was when like he was trying to figure out how he could get cable into the house.
So he could watch TV.
So he could watch so he could watch the footy. and then like
that's why I liked him so much.
That is
like, you're like, I relate to him on a
because
personal level.
he would.
Well, yeah, because it was like
watch the footy today. I did watch the footy today
because he's like Nightingale was like, well, you can't bring it in through the house because there's wards, but like the coach house we didn't ward, so go for that.
It's magic Wi-Fi. Just gonna.
That's exactly what Brendan would do. Brendan would be like,
absolutely.
if he got accepted to Hogwarts, he would still be like working.
But like the best scene was when he like got his like flat set up like above the coach house.
Yeah.
And then so he has like Leslie and like the I can't think of her name. The river nymph chick. Yeah.
Mama Thames?
No, like the daughter.
Okay.
Starts with a B, I think.
Beverly Brooke.
Yeah. And he has them over like and then the like I don't know
Molly.
like Molly, who's I guess like a ghoul or a vampire. I don't know.
He's the one that bit the guy's dick off at the end, right? With her vagina.
Molly
so she did that, but then she also like
Japanese spirit.
Well, she ate the raw food and it was feeding the dog too. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a vampire thing or a ghoul thing. It wasn't fully clear.
She's listed as an unknown species.
Yeah, so like it seemed more like ghoulish than like vampire to me, but and then Molly shows up and is like watching the movie with them, and then all of a sudden like there's another knock on the door and Nightingale comes in. It's like, can I get a beer? Just like watches
all
it.
Just like very like. Hi.
They're like, it's like your it's like if you're at work and you like throw like a house party and it's just like a general house party, and then like your boss heard about it and just like shows up.
Yeah.
And it's just like you're like like kills the vibe of the party, but like your boss like is there and you have to like, be a host, but at the same time you're like, oh god, nobody do anything stupid.
Everyone on your best behavior. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, you're leaving? Yeah, too soon. Bye.
Oh, and it's because Nightingale knew that he like killed the mood, so he's like, anyway, thanks for the beer. I'll be out. I'll get out of your hair.
Yeah.
Like the work party where you can't order a beer until your manager orders a beer.
Yeah. At
the Christmas party, so everyone sits there and waits, and the manager's like, "Oh, I think we'll get going." Everyone's like, "All right, time to party."
It was fun. It was realistic. I can see how this could spawn a series, right? Mm-hmm. I think it said there's like 9 of them.
So many, yeah.
Well, it was really well received. Mm-hmm. Like, it was nominated for some award, and opened a lot of doors for him. And I can see the world in my opinion, it is a perfect urban fantasy setting, mm-hmm. right? Yeah. Because it slots right. It's very believable.
Yeah. Except for like the whole like the only thing that I wasn't wild about was the whole like police department conspiracy where all the detectives know about it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
somehow about the whole magic thing, but like it hasn't gotten out. Like they know about it and they're pissed off about it, but like they just like don't. Like,
honestly, that's a very British thing, though.
you know what I mean, though? Like,
well, yeah. So the British are very used to just like living with misery. So like, get in the queue. Oh, the Blitz. Just watch your head. It's just like, oh, magic's real. Ah, hell.
Yeah, that just felt like it. And like,
well, because there's like that one like beefy like inspector dude that's like, he's like, oh, Nightingale, get out of here with your shit right now, like.
yeah. He's like, fuck you all. Anyways, I need a colonic irrigation, and then drops that. Like, it literally says that in the book, and then leaves. It's like, who is this guy? So, I'm gonna presume that Missy's read more modern fantasy than I have. Can you think of any other series that's so just any series that just admits magic is real so flatly? Like, because like Lost Girl, the TV show, there's glamours. World of Darkness, there's glamours to hide the magic. D20 Modern covers that.
Tons of wards and glamour.
Yeah.
There's no just protect the masquerade thing. It's just like,
right.
Don't let the public know. Like, the cops know what's going on, but
yeah, I mean, like in Iron Druid, they're using glamours to cover up corpses after combat and stuff. So like,
Well, it's first of all, that's a very incorrect assumption that I've read more fantasy than you have. I'll just go on the record with that. Now, if you want to talk YA, then we could go toe to toe.
Yeah, because the one assumption was a lot of YA is modern, so I haven't really read a ton of modern fantasy.
Yeah,
so I'm just wondering.
I don't know a story where one is just flagrantly open. Oh,
but it's not like
that movie Blight. That's about the only one that I know of.
But it's not fully right. It's open, but only like segmented. So no, like the thing that came to mind was like True Blood, but everyone knows it came out of coffin, and then it was this whole thing, right?
But they don't know about magic. They only know about the vampires.
Yeah.
Like, it was years before the werewolves came out. And, I mean, in the series, they never did.
Yeah, the Fade. No, they
in the series, they never came out as shifters. That was in the books. TV, they didn't. It was just vampires.
Oh. No, I don't. I think in it... I don't know. I've watched a fair amount of, like, British TV. I've read a fair amount of British books. But it felt authentic to them, but still accessible enough that like someone who doesn't know, who isn't the Anglophile that I am, would be able to enjoy it.
I do think the one thing that I found just humorous the whole way through is if there is one group of people that know magic exists and are fucking over it already, it would be the British. Like, no. The British cops. No,
the British cops.
Like, the cops as well. But my God, the whole thing of like, well, we could use magic. Fuck off. Like, no magic, no none of that.
It was weird because like the one like what was I can't remember his fucking name. The cop, like the big like scary murder detective.
Seawall.
Seawall.
Alexander Seawall.
Yeah, it's like the whole thing. He's like talks shit about Nightingale, but as soon as like Nightingale's in trouble and like Peter is too, like, and he's like being interviewed and stuff. Like, it's like Seawall's like, you wouldn't be able to like he's basically like. He's basically like, we're being watched right now. Can you like fix that problem? And he's like, oh yeah, totally. Like blast, like basically just like vapes the cameras.
Yeah.
Well, and magic is like, I like that it's incompatible with like electricity.
That's a trope in a lot of stories,
that is like that's very familiar, and it's both at odds with the modern world, but sits really nicely in it.
And it's a good explanation for like why like magic is like dying. But it also seems like, according to like certain conversations, that it's like under a resurgence or something. Because like you have the conversation with the commissioner, who's like, I thought you told me that this was on its way out and we wouldn't have to worry about it anymore. And then Nightingales were like, well, apparently I was wrong, sir.
Yeah. I think I like the separation of the magic and technology because in most stories, like we all know the character, the one guy that's like hidden in a trailer with like, a gajillion, bit Wi-Fi coming in. They got 400 monitors and they know fucking everything. They know everything that's ever happened and every piece of information that is on the internet. They know. And he's the guy that's like, what's really going on. Or in fantasy, you've got the wizard or the oracle or something that goes on. And I think it's a good way to keep them separate to make them incompatible because then you can't have like Merlin, who's also a hacker, which you feel would be uncomfortable.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Missy also just found out that he wrote Doctor Who stuff.
Oh.
Now,
yeah, I thought that name makes sense.
Now.
Episodic or the comics or both or
serials in the late 80s and spin-off novels.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So
all
TV,
of that makes sense now. Why this is the way it was because it 100%.
It does read like a Doctor Who episode.
If Doctor Who started magic, like Merlin and Doctor Who was.
Yeah, it does. It does read like now that you say that it does read like very much sort of like a Doctor Who episode in terms of like how it kind of.
Now that you say that, the sexual frustration is similar to like a doctor and the companion.
No, this doctor, he wrote for Doctor Who in the 80s.
Not the 80s, but
80s had zero. Like I watched that on BritBox right now.
Oh yeah. I mean,
it said 87, 89, and then some audio drama.
That's the fifth doctor.
Wasn't.
That's the fifth doctor right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost comparable to like there was no sexual tension in Battlestar Galactica 1980, and then you watch like 2004, and it's ridiculous because they're all stuck in shit together.
There is everything is dry in Doctor Who.
Yeah,
there is nobody's excited about anything. Nobody got it turned on at all in anything,
until you get Rose and
and then she's
David
like
Tennant.
in love. She can't function. And it was. I think there's only one companion, Donna Noble, who was like, "Oh, I want to bang you." There's dudes on her.
Wasn't Rose still a companion with Christopher Eccleston?
Yeah, she was the first one.
Yeah.
Companion.
Because I started with Eccleston, and I remember watching those like when I was in high school on Channel 11. I remember thinking like, there's a level, there's like something, there's some electricity.
And then there's like
Wait. Let's just take
Never mind.
hard back.
Yeah,
sorry, we're getting away from.
We'll do a series on Doctor Who sometime next year.
Listen,
we haven't.
Yeah, no surprise, viewers. An episode of Doctor Who.
We could do several, actually, because I mean. All right. Anyway, there'll be a Doctor Who episode sometime in 20.
But to go like that does, and again to bring it back to Neverwhere, that also there's like a blurb on the Neverwhere that's on the front that says this reads like Doctor Who. So you have these like fun, quirky, like quintessentially British, but like applicable to the larger population who will still. It.
Yeah, because it's like that. Like it's modern day, but there's still like weird shit happening. Like, but like the public's ignoring it except for like a couple people.
Yeah.
Everyone else is like oblivious except for like the couple people that are like, wait a second.
Then like going back to last week, like of course, like ghosts are real, and they're like, yeah, of course they are. Like Like, we've been telling ghost stories and we've been obsessed with the supernatural forever. Like, of course they're real. Like, let's ignore it, drink some tea, and move on. More important to talk about.
We got a guy coming to steal your fingers.
Like the weather.
Yeah.
So my question for the room, have any of you read Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell?
Yes.
Okay,
We've seen the show. We've seen the show.
I watched the... Wasn't there a movie?
I have not. There was a BBC miniseries. I have not read the book.
Mr. Norrell is so dumb.
Like,
you could kill a bird with it. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. It is the equivalent of like in going back to grad school. Like Bleak House was like a fucking badge of honor if you read that shit. Like, so I've not read it, but I've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay. That was the closest I could compare in like practical magic terms, because magic in that book was very much like structured, and there was it was organizational, and
for Mr. Norrell.
For Norrell, yeah. For Strange, they're like,
Strange, it was like all emotion and show.
Yeah, they were polarized.
Yeah, but they both learned the same, which is kind of it's more like the implication, like the implementation.
Yeah,
is how it was, and
it was like sorcery versus wizardry almost.
You sure that wasn't a movie? I feel like there was a movie.
There was a show. There was absolutely a show.
Yeah, it's a miniseries.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm miming it, but there's absolutely a show.
We can't. Thank God you said that. Nobody would figure it out when we said a series. They'd be like, I don't know what that is.
I was playing charades last weekend. Maybe that's why.
Is that what it is? And you haven't recovered?
Oh, it's in the bones, man. So I think maybe three of the four of us here are big. I'm not going to presume big on the Gaiman. What
I love Gaiman. Like
yeah. So what?
She hates it.
I like him in theory. His execution is never what I want it to be, but he has theory.
He badmouthed the Tube in London, and that.
What are the contrasts between opinions on the Tube between this and Neverwhere that so starkly?
I will have an entire episode on why the Tube underground system is superior to every aspect of American public transport, and I will fucking go down at my sword about that.
I am fairly certain that is why she doesn't like it. She's like, they had the court in the Tube? Preposterous.
It's the one bit. Okay.
The one bit. The court. The court is in the Tube. No, it would never be so dirty. But no, I don't know. It did feel a little bit like if it turned out, if these two stories somehow like collided, it would feel natural. Well, like to them to be in the world of Neverwhere. It would.
Yeah. There's little blurbs that says Midnight Riot is what would happen if Harry Potter grew up and joined the Fuzz.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then, I feel he was way cooler than Harry Potter. And then someone said
this is the perfect blend of CSI and Harry Potter.
Yeah, that is true.
But like Harry Potter goes to like he becomes an Auror, like, and he's still like the only thing you can say is Expelliarmus, like know, like this.
He still only has one spell.
One spell, and if it wasn't for Hermione, he would have died year 1, 2, 3. Like he's like, I am the chosen. Like book 7, I am the chosen one. Shut the fuck up! You barely.
If you do something well, do the shit out of it. I mean,
yeah. And he mopes and gets angsty. Yeah. That's what he does well.
I could see this like as being a very like equal or like parallel, or it working really well with Neverwhere. It's set in the same world. It's the same kind of fun and quirky thing. I don't know. I think part of like Neil Gaiman tries too hard to be funny or quirky or smart.
You mispronounced awesome.
You mispronounced. His
awesome.
Delivery never lands as well. I think he tries too hard, whereas this felt more authentic, and it didn't try to be more than it was. Like it was an episodic cop drama that took itself for what it was, and it didn't try anything else.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed it from that, like, because it's simplistic from the point of like it's a cop drama with magic, and doesn't try to be anything more than that. It's just like does that, and I think it does it pretty well.
And I liked, like, I mean, this is not anything, but it didn't kill anyone, like, I mean, there's death, right? But like you weren't like I feel like in a post like Martin world, you're always waiting for your favorites to die.
Right. Like I was bracing for Leslie to die entire book.
Yeah.
The entire thing.
Well, at the end where she got injured, you're like, well, she's dead.
I know, it's done.
And then he's like, oh, hold on. And they just...
Or for like Nightingale to die, and then him to be the last one, and now he has.
And now he's got to figure it out. Like,
yeah.
I don't know about you guys, I've been watching my heroes die since Animorphs.
Yeah.
Like I
can't have faith in anything anymore.
I had the biggest. You
I
did?
read them, but
Yeah.
I must have blocked out what it is because I do not recall that. But that is probably a mental block from my youth.
When my crush, the cheerleader, she fucking dies. She bites it, and then the little dork guy, he animorphs into a fly to be a fly in the wall and to spy, and then he gets hit with a swatter, and he morphs back into a person, and his legs are broken. He's in a wheelchair. That was traumatic.
And then there was like that dude that like stays as a falcon too long, and then he never comes back.
He never comes back. It was like Goosebumps to Animorphs. It was like Pokemon to Digimon.
That was like
oh no, Ash, you lost the battle. Try again.
I feel like that
Digimon.
show,
You lose, you get deleted forever.
Yeah, that show did not like that book series did not hold back. They were just like gonna. Like
They were trying to toughen you up.
yeah, well, like for something labeled as YA, like that shit.
Book fair was for real readers.
You guys thought Hunger Games was hard, right? It's like they've brought back so many Transformer movies. Where is my rated R Animorphs movie? Where is my Animorphs movie?
Yeah.
My wallet is sitting here, growing fat.
No.
Filled with money.
Pitch it to Guillermo del Toro. He took the scary stories we tell in the dark. Take Animorphs.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
like-
A Del Toro Animorphs movie? Somebody fund this.
Well, also like Del Toro
started here.
Del Toro would make
It
that.
started
Like,
here.
Del Toro would make that transformation look as just as painful as it does on the cover of the novels too.
Oh yeah. All the limbs breaking as they. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, this is only two tangents that are tangentially related. So
All right. I'm bringing it back. So rather than ask you what you would animorph into, what was your favorite case of the many cases and procedural police happenings that Peter Grant has to deal with through this first book? What was your favorite cop encounter?
What wasn't my favorite was when it fucking right out the gate had them throw a goddamn baby out the window.
Yeah, that sucks.
Like, no one needed
That sucks.
Yeah.
No one needed that.
Oh, don't worry. We have tea, so it's all good.
Yeah.
No,
That
would would hurt. Like, and I had to.
I mean, personally, her because we're I was feeding her when it was the middle of the night. And I'm listening to it. I'm feeding her, and he's like, and the baby was flying. I'm like, I'm holding the baby right now, you know.
That one, and you said you got through it in a day and a half. That one made me stop. Like,
Oh wow.
I had to force myself to get back
I
into
said do not.
One of those, but I mean, is some of the stuff that police have to deal with, really fucked up stuff, and I think that is that's part of police work. They do have shit that they don't want to talk about or don't want to see.
Well,
so I mean,
I thought it was one thing that was interesting. Sorry, I'm interrupting, but I thought it's not for favorite case wise. Yes, you were. I think the cool thing was he figured this is just the difference between the North Thames and the Upper Thames and the Lower Thames. In terms of the river spirits thing, they've been feuding for feuding for 500 years, and he just Nightingale's yeah, that's just how they are. I just leave it alone. Don't deal with them. And then Peter Grant's immediately no, I'm fixing this shit. And then he figures out a way to get them to agree and work together with him.
I do feel that was the main. I know finding this killer, that was the crappy actor.
Mm-hmm.
I do know
the puppets. Just stick with the puppets.
Yeah,
The puppets.
do you know that was the whole story throughout the whole book? That was the overarching,
Yeah.
narrative. But I do think a fair amount of his job. They're do you want to learn magic? Right, good. Mama Thames is a bitch. Go calm her down. They're And, like,
Mama Thames is a bitch and Papa Thames is an asshole. Get them to agree on something.
I feel like the majority of his job was to mollify these old river spirits and then tell all of the tributaries that fed into the Thames to be like, no, you're pretty too. All right, are you going to calm down? It was like every day he just had to feed her like a spoonful of ice cream to calm her down. That's what it felt like. Like every day she's going off again, and you had to like pet her hair and tell her she's pretty.
It wasn't the mom though. The mom was like fine. It was her daughter.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's
her
what it
one
felt
daughter was the one who, like the one I forget what the name was, but the one that he offended by accidentally doing magic. And
after she tried to like freaking
force him,
force him to like be her like mind slave. But it's his fault for resisting, like, a bunch of bullshit.
How dare you not come?
I just, my favorite case is I don't know if it's my favorite case, but it's my favorite reveal is just the puppets. It is so funny to me, and it is so quintessentially, like, it is just that moment of ridiculousness that just brought me a lot of joy.
And how he convinced us that he's like, well, every great actor dies. And he's like, right, a good actor does die.
And then he figures it out, while watching TV. Shit, it's all Punch and Judy.
I'm gonna agree with Missy on this one.
It was so fun.
For starters, having done programming, I solved every programming issue when I was on a service ticket, when I was on the can. I'd go, I'd take a bathroom break. I'd look at my phone maybe, and be like, oh, all right. And then done. So the fact that he discovers it watching TV, I think the whole Punch and Judy reveal, this is a book where, get ready, loyal viewers, right? This is a book where an infant is thrown through a window, where people's faces come off, people are decapitated with a flick, and I was laughing as I was reading it.
It wasn't gratuitous. Like,
right.
It wasn't gratuitous in a way that felt like, oh God, like, and again, like the baby, that was gratuitous. That didn't need to happen. Like, we could have just said like, and then the baby was in the corner, and I would have been like, great, I'm happy about that. Thank you. Like, but it felt like, it wasn't. But again, like, we're so used to American gun violence and all of that. Like, and granted, because they don't have guns over there, their stabbing rates are astronomical.
Right.
We don't have a lot of knives
through the roof.
Like, like it's a different.
They leave that out when they're talking about, when people are trying to talk about gun regulations. That if it's got a point on it, it's going in somebody.
Absolutely. But it still felt like, again, like you said, like you're still laughing through it.
Yeah.
Like for the ridiculousness while still enjoying the whole premise of it.
Right.
Yeah. It was just I liked a lot of it. Like the part where he had to use his whistle. And he's like, I can't believe it. I have to use
he's like, I have this whistle.
Like he was like, how ridiculous. I have a whistle. And then he ended up using it like 13 minutes later.
Yeah.
Like it felt very natural. It felt
or like, the mob violence at the play.
Yeah.
Like, when he's like trying to break that
spell.
He's playing the part but break the thing by forgetting his lines, and they're still forcing him forward, and he's like, it's okay, it's gonna be a play noose. Like it's just it's and ridiculous, and still somehow managing.
It would make a great it would make a really good TV series. Like it would be super fun
because you had clear episodic,
right?
Like there were clear.
Every chapter was like an episode.
You make a good,
was so fun.
You make a good point, Joel, because like I'll use the example of the Venture Brothers. A huge core of why
stupid show.
A huge core of why that stupid show is so funny is because the core of that show is failure. It's Doc Venture is trying to live up to the impossible standards of his dad. He keeps messing up.
Test. It's Johnny Test done ridiculous.
Johnny Quest.
Johnny Quest. Yeah, it's Johnny Quest done ridiculously.
Sorry.
Yeah. So
my children watch Johnny Test obsessively. So like it's burned indelibly into my brain, and I hate myself for
Doc
it.
Venture messes up all the time. His kids die so frequently that he has to clone them. Right? You're already laughing just thinking about it. This
is so dumb.
Yeah,
I just remember the episode where they're at like the super science flea market,
Mhm.
and he's got like lightsabers out.
Yeah, and I think a core of this.
It's so dumb.
It's
One
a
of the,
very
like, Monarch's henchman buys one. He's like, I've waited my whole life for this, and he like fires it up, and it's just a light beam that does nothing, and Brock Samson beats the shit out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, you think I'd sell this if it was a weapon? Yeah.
It was the same thing with this book. It's like Grant is like, I gotta blow a fucking whistle. It's Punch and Judy. It's just like the absurdity of the situations that he's in with his limitations and just the monotony of the day-to-day mixed with the insanity of magic. I think the core of why this book is so naturally funny is because it's not fishing for laughs. It's the absurdity of the situation. It's a very natural humor.
That is British humor.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why, like, there's an episode of so the thick of it
Hey, baby girl.
is kind of like Parks and Rec for in Britain. It's like a ridiculous show, and I started watching it, and right when Peter Capaldi was named the Doctor, I had already watched it, and I knew he was going to be awesome because the first words he says on camera is, "You're about as useless as a marzipan dildo." And that literally is British humor to me. Like, it is.
I love it.
Oh my gosh.
Well, like, and it is my favorite line in almost any TV show.
Literally
like,
ever.
Like
That's the
it
best.
is amazing. And that is what I think. Like, people think of British as like the sophisticated,
Oh my God,
like
that
all
is-
of this. But for the most part,
It's Monty Python.
yeah, it's Monty
It's
Python.
stupid.
It's like gutter humor. It's ridiculousness, and it is amazing.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things that was like funny about I really liked about the show was the other twist where you find out the ghost that Peter's been talking to this entire freaking time was the bad guy.
Yeah. I just that he was an actor and the play was so shitty. It was played one time and they're like, never again.
Yep.
And he's like, no, I need more people to see it.
And then like murdered the and then it's like and he's like wanted
So
to get back at
stupid.
the other actor that got the better part, even though it was a play that only played once.
It was,
Yeah.
but it's the absurdity that also was paired with the fact that it's also how you can imagine, like, and I know I've said this before, but it is very much like every time he's like exploring, he's like, and this too, like he keeps finding out like there's more magic shit in there. At first, it's like ghosts are real. Oh, now there's wizards. Oh, I've got to calm down a river spirit. Oh, I somehow accidentally went back in time and I'm talking to a pre-romantic magistrate. All right, whatever. Like,
But I want to bang everyone.
yeah, but I'm super hard.
And then I went back in time while getting necked by the ghoul who's sucking out my life force, and then actually go back to like pre-Roman times where I meet Father Thames and he remembers me,
Right.
1,500 or 2,000 years later. That was wild. That was a
all
wild scene.
that's just like underlying tone of like, how the fuck did I get here?
Yeah.
All right,
How
so
did this happen?
final
know?
question for the panel. How likely are you guys to continue this series and why?
I would give it. I think this is not. I think I would read this one as opposed to audiobook it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I think I will be honest. I mostly because I was in a medicine induced haze and it was really hard to understand a lot of it. Because I listened to the bulk of it while I was like real sick, and so I'm like pretty much I'm on like all of the cold medicine and everything. So my processing is like right there at the best. So I had a little trouble following it in the beginning.
I was thinking that I don't know. I'm not like it ended in a way that I felt like some books end and you're like, I need to keep reading. Like this, I think I'd casually finish it. Like I don't think I would.
I'd watch the
Seek
shit
it
out
out.
of it if it was series.
Yeah.
If it was a TV series, I would binge it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd actively seek it out, but I wouldn't be like opposed to it. You know.
What about you?
All right.
He's already on book 6 now.
No. So I was just looking up. So, yes, I can't find that there's a show, but apparently there are comics and graphic novels.
Yeah.
So there's some visual presentation.
He's very, very prolific in what he does.
Yeah. So do we know why it's Rivers of London here as opposed to Midnight Riot or vice versa?
I think the overarching series is called the Rivers of London series.
Yeah.
No, because the book I have
It
says Rivers of London, also known as Midnight Riot.
There are two reasons usually that British literature is renamed when it comes here. Number one is
because we're dumb, and
number one is stupidity. Like remember famously that A&W tried selling a 3-pound burger because there's more meat than a 1/4 pounder, and Americans wouldn't buy it. So there's that. Number two,
that's why they went to the metric system. They're like, we're never getting this wrong again.
Well, no, they wear the Sorcerer's Stone because like the publishers thought that we wouldn't pick up philosophers.
Yeah,
right.
They're right.
Yeah, so either A, they think that we wouldn't get like, oh, it's a book on geography, or B, it's too close to something in the States that similar in copyright or title. Yeah. So it's probably one of those two.
It's probably a copyright issue, yeah.
Yeah. With that in mind, when we read Foundation, I made sure I was alone. I put it on my Bluetooth speaker. I chewed that steak, right? I took my time with it. Colleen's calling me. I got to pause and replay this bit, right?
Yeah.
This book, I didn't audiobook it. I actually read it just to make sure I get it done on time.
Look at him just bragging like a dick.
No, it's always it's so I could make it here and be with my esteemed colleagues. And this book we talked about it, is a fast read. So this is like enjoyment, right? This is a feel good book. This is the visual equivalent of comfort food. And I think you don't really have to commit a lot to this. It's not the longest book. It's like 280 something pages, 289 maybe. So there's not a huge commitment, and you're getting a massive reward for that time. So I mean, if it's really case by case episodic format, you never know what you're going to get with the other books. I'd probably give another one a shot for sure. For those reasons.
I think when I get the next one, I'm going to read it and not audiobook it. I think
highly recommend it.
With it being so episodic, I think that is an easier way to digest this.
100%.
I'm looking up the answer, and the first answer was presumably because Americans don't understand what Rivers or London is.
Fucking posh asshole British.
I mean, in America, we have, it's as the comedian said, when we do stupid, we're top-notch.
With that, we are coming up on time. So
Hey, I'm going to take one moment to brag and say I believe that this is the second book that I personally recommended that Ben liked.
Yep.
Yeah. That's fine.
So you've liked all of her recommendations. The pandering ones to her, you have hated.
Yes.
These are
the ones to get you to like come join us.
Yeah.
The ones that I actually recommended.
With that in mind, I feel like we still need to do a Warhammer book pretty soon. But
that being said,
I shouldn't have to be punished because he did it.
I wouldn't say it's punishment. What if I pick a book?
That's my childhood you're slandering.
And I stand by it.
Hey, Melissa, you're sharing these books that you enjoy. What if I share a book that I really enjoy? It's not my turn this week, so you're safe. But
you can't share a book that you really enjoy, and I can't choose to pretend to have COVID.
Yeah, but then you'd make me really sad, and you and I both would know that you wussed out.
And I
and Joel would narc on you. So
and this episode, we're going to be doing Miss.
No, I wouldn't pretend. I would just flat say I'm not going to do this, but thank you.
That's not
fine.
fair.
That's not
you
fair.
have to suffer with the rest of us.
I have done every book that has been recommended through this group.
That being said, Rising.
Brendan, it is your turn this week.
It is my turn. You guys know that to a fault, I love cheap yellowed page Del Rey paperbacks. However, we learned our lesson, and I need to read them first before I recommend them.
Just make sure they're not like overtly racist because they were written in 1981.
Yeah, we found that out.
And editors were like, "That's okay, we can call them that."
So I'm a huge fan of TOS, Star Trek: The Original Series. This particular book. No. It is not a Star Trek paperback. It's not a novelization. I swear. However,
sci-fi though. It's a shut up.
However,
sci-fi.
It's going to be sci-fi. This series.
That's your sweet spot.
This series not only has a tie-in to the Star Trek animated series, but also to the Starfleet battles. Also to the Starfleet Battles tabletop game.
You killed her.
It is. We are reading Ringworld by Larry Niven.
Oh,
that's not
okay.
It
also,
is a very,
still on the
very tangential reference. It's a very tangential piece of trivia. But
this is another closeted racist book because it's super old. You are no longer
spoilers.
allowed to
It kind of is.
No.
It just doesn't come right out and say it.
You know I love my trivia, and this book.
Science fiction,
racist
novel,
fantasy,
space opera.
What is Doctor Who if not a space opera?
Yeah, come on.
No, it's a masterpiece. You shut up.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Joel.
Opera masterpiece. Come on, it's a space opera.
All right, so this book not only influenced Star Trek animated Ringworld, the first one. Not only influenced
the Ringworld Engineers.
No, it's just Ringworld. It's the first one.
When I put in Ringworld, I got a different answer. I got the Ringworld Engineers.
All right, Google will tell all.
I got it.
Oh, we're good. Okay. So not only did this influence Star Trek the Animated Series and Starfleet Battles, it also influenced a video game series called Wing Commander, if you've ever heard of it or played it.
Oh my God. The one that had the first live actors in it.
Mark Hamill, John Rhys Davies, I believe a porn star, Biff Tannen from Back to the Future, back when no money was made in live-action video games. That was Wing Commander 3, but all of this was influenced in some way.
I remember like, the cutscenes were why you played that game, to be like, oh my God, those are people.
It's Mark Hamill. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Apparently the ring and Halo is taken from this book.
Yep, Halo. It
is basically one of the...
she is not
it is a book. It is another, like we talked about how Foundation is sort of like the original sort of like fathers of science fiction. Larry Niven is right up there with Isaac Asimov in terms of being a progenitor of like all science fiction novels. So like Foundation is all about sort of like the politics of like post-human stuff, but like or like post-human empire stuff, but like Ringworld is more about like the travel and like encountering alien races and stuff like that. It's they're both sort of like in that sort of like
look at her
science
face.
fiction category.
She's so over it already.
I am.
We're gonna love
Damn
it.
Brendan, did you really think you were gonna win her with Ringworld? Let's be real here.
I'm not gonna stop trying, Ben. I gotta keep trying.
Hey, she likes Doctor Who. That's about the farthest you're getting into quasi sci-fi at all. No,
there was a review written 19 years ago on Audible. It says first the bad news. The book is not world-altering, life-changing, deep, or otherwise valuable.
Yeah.
It is occasionally insightful, but it is particularly a romp through a novel and a creative universe. As a romp, it is first-rate. Now, I did enjoy Discworld for, like, the first book.
Yeah.
outside, once you ignore the turtle, that is also a romp. So we will see.
So this is different from Discworld. So Discworld is more satirical. Ringworld is
also. This world is also like Victorian England with magic.
Yeah.
Magic,
so like
mud, and a space turtle.
Ringworld is very much takes itself seriously. It's not a satire. It's basically like, this is the world. This is what's going on. This is the science of it. And just like let you sort of thing. It's not a comedy like Discworld is.
At the very least, you'll be educated on a nub of a ton of dork trivia. A lot of dorkness comes from the nexus that is Ringworld. So at the very least, we'll be educated on more things dork, which is what this is all about. So
it's definitely a trivia category. Mm-hmm. All right, with that, thanks again. Thanks again, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you.
This was a pretty sad pick.
We'll see you again tomorrow with continuation of the Candlekeep Mysteries, and then next week we will return to our Nerds on Blank series where we talk about Christmas traditions and family traditions during the holidays.
And then this episode for Ringworld will be the first episode of the new year.
All right.
We're going to skip the week after Christmas.
We're going to be we talked about that. We're going to be taking off the week after Christmas for the holidays because they're usually just absolute chaos for most people. So, so Ringworld will be the first episode in the new year.
All right. Thanks again, everyone, and we will see you again tomorrow and or next week.